Chantel Unplugged, really appreciated it. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to give you a little heads up. Don't leave when I finish, because I have a special presentation to make afterwards, okay? But with that said, it's great to be back on this stage and with all of you representing rural Ontario. I'd like to be, here, yes, that's right. I'd like to begin by recognizing the many municipal, Indigenous leaders and rural representatives in attendance today. I thank you for your partnership over the last year, and thank you for being here today. It's a full house. This conference shows that you're engaged. It's your annual opportunity to share ideas, network with colleagues, trade show exhibitors, and to connect with my colleagues, provincial representatives, to highlight successes and how together we can continue to, on behalf of rural communities throughout this province. I would like to thank and acknowledge ROMA's chair, Krista Lowry, she's just in the back, and the, and the entire board sitting to my right, your left, as well as the team at ROMA for designing a great program. You know, rural roots matter. And I'm proud of mine, and I trust that you are all proud of yours as well. So I know this conference will be a success once again. You know, I also just want to give a quick shout out to ROMA's past chair and the current chair of AMO, Robin Jones. Love what you're doing. So some of you remember last year when I was honored to be able to address you, and I respectfully suggested that this was our time? Well, I'm convinced more than ever that it is. And you know, we just had some multi-ministry delegations with NOMA and ROMA, and when I go across the province, it's very apparent to me that whether you're the Eastern Wardens Caucus or Western Wardens Caucus or Northeastern representatives, your strategies and your vision is certainly aligning with where we need to go with our government. And since last year's conference, just to give you a little sense of what I've been up to, I hosted a very successful rural summit with over 200 participants. Last year, I co-chaired the federal, provincial, territorial efforts, and we hosted a meeting with Minister Gutching, the Federal Minister of Rural Affairs, in Niagara-on-the-Lake. Do you know, it was only the second ever rural FPT held. And trust me, there's going to be so many more discussions with our federal colleagues as well. But there's an opportunity to identify common themes and threads that will enable that Federal Minister of Rural Affairs to go to his or her table and let them know that rural Canada, and then filter down to rural Ontario, we matter. And we need to be thinking about how we can all, on 3 levels, work better together. And then since June of 2024, I've been honored to serve as your minister, Ontario's Minister of Rural Affairs. Thank you. Together with Parliamentary Assistant Steve Pinzano, who's just off to my left, we embarked on a provincial rural consultation that saw 13 regional roundtables hosted across the province. And we also received over 250 online submissions. Steve and I attended the Western Wardens Caucus meeting last fall, and I joined Minister Calandra at the recent Eastern Wardens Caucus meeting. And in between, guess what? Steve and I fit in tours and visits to northern municipalities. And I also want to share with you that I am honored also to join Minister Calandra at both tables, at AMO and ROMA. Your voice is being heard, ladies and gentlemen. And as you may know, I have not been shy in speaking about the importance of and the power of small towns and rural communities. Even Minister Calandra just moments ago recognized there's opportunity. And you know, we see rural Ontario as an opportunity to continue to grow and strengthen Ontario's economic position, not only in Canada, but in North America as well. Last year, I stood in front of you and spoke from personal experience about the strong potential rural communities have, not only for economic growth, but for being a home to so many. As we reflect on the future of Ontario, you can be certain that you have a provincial government that stands shoulder to shoulder with you. Premier Ford and our entire government, our team, recognizes that opportunities lie ahead for all of you. And we will continue to work to determine the best ways to partner with you. You know, this past year, as we've traveled throughout Ontario, we listened to Indigenous community leaders, municipal leaders, and people who just simply are so incredibly proud to call rural Ontario home. We've worked with partner ministries across government to identify a range of programming that supports rural economic development. And we knew we needed to connect directly with all of you to better understand your challenges and needs, and most importantly, to explore how our government can continue to support economic growth in every community and corner in this province. And that's exactly what we did, with the end result being a strategy that highlights what our government is already doing, in addition to new initiatives that ultimately supports goals we can achieve by working together. Today, I am so proud to release and share with you Enabling Opportunity, Ontario's Rural Economic Strategy. And this strategy you will find at the Ministry of Rural Affairs booth in the trade show. And again, we're trying to modernize, walk our talk, and there'll be postcards with the QR code that you can click on to access that particular plan. I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of the team that helped pull it together, and I'm proud of the fact that it represents a whole of government approach to support rural Ontario. This strategy is our plan to help develop, grow rural businesses, attract and retain rural workers, and build strong, safe, vibrant communities. It's based on our government's belief that a strong, dynamic rural Ontario is essential for the overall success of our province's economy. Rural homes matter, and you all know that, and we're going to work with you on that. But I also would suggest to you respectfully that rural Ontario is home to innovative small businesses and entrepreneurs serving the needs of their community and the needs of others, not only at home, but provincially, nationally, and I can attest to you, globally. These communities are hubs for food production, natural resources, energy generation, but also home to manufacturing, retail trade, professional services, and tourism-based businesses. Rural Ontario is at its best when it is supported by robust policies and programs. And these policies and programs need to be embraced by all of us in this room and by leaders and citizens across Ontario. Our strategy outlines goals geared to strengthen and support rural communities and small towns. For more information, as I mentioned, please visit our trade booth just outside during the reception, or when it's available to you during tomorrow before the trade show comes to a conclusion. I share that with you sincerely because I want you to take a look at where we're going. Enabling Opportunity is a strategy that is focused on 3 key pillars. The first one being safe and strong rural communities, as well as our second pillar, business development and attraction, and something that we just spoke about moments ago, and I know that matters to all of you as well, growing the rural workforce is our third pillar. You know how we tend to say, this individual is a pillar of our community, or that organization is a pillar of our community. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Enabling Opportunity is going to be our government's pillar to demonstrate that we've listened, we understand, and we're going to be working with all of you to strengthen that pillar. You know, our first pillar, safe and strong rural communities, highlights the goals that enable rural communities across this province to make themselves the places that individuals and families want to live, work, play, and, quite frankly, grow a business. We want to ensure rural communities and small towns are home to vibrant local cultures, where people feel a sense of belonging, where they know their neighbors, and most importantly, where they can cultivate and have confidence in a wonderful quality of life. Our government is investing in the rehabilitation of municipal and community infrastructure. We're optimizing rural connectivity And we're supporting communities in developing plans for housing and transportation to enhance what is happening throughout our communities. You know, I am blessed to have an opportunity to travel across this province. Every community matters, and quite frankly, I love it. Just in Massey, I guess it would be the Sobel Spanish River Municipality, I met with Mayor Burke and his council. And I really appreciated the discussion that we shared. And I want to share with you that something really simple but poignant was put on the table. And that is, they need to be ready. They need to be prepared when provincial programs open up. You know, they weren't able to apply for some of the funding programs that came down the pipe over the last 6-12 months because, unfortunately, they just didn't have the resources to make sure that they had a plan and a strategy so that they had a project-ready program or initiative ready to go. That wasn't lost on me. And I see Pillar 1 as an avenue to assist in that regard. And I really thank everyone that I've met with for their candor, because together we're going to be better. Pillar 2, business development and attraction, has goals focused on driving economic growth throughout the province with businesses of all sizes, and as well as economic development strategies that boost their communities. That means supporting rural communities and other economic development partners in strengthening and growing rural business opportunities. It also involves encouraging entrepreneurship, innovation, attracting investment, and diversifying regional economies. I'm the first one to stand at the table and say, the cookie cutter has to go. We need to celebrate the diversity across this province and enable the communities because they know best. And you know, I was just in Dufferin County on this past Wednesday with the Deputy Premier Jones, and I was inspired, like I am when I visit any of your communities. And I learned that the county is looking to attract business investment. And so they're doing the reverse of a trade mission. They're actually hosting tours out in their county of Dufferin with people who have the potential of investing in new business and opportunities. And they're going to showcase what Dufferin can offer in terms of a viable place for a business to build and grow in. And most importantly, support families and provide good local jobs as well. That is a proof point, ladies and gentlemen, that there are so many initiatives out there that we can look forward to partnering on. And we need to share. We need to share what's happening already to inspire new ideas and new opportunities to showcase each and every one of your communities. What you showcase will not be the same, but it still matters to your community. And I get that. And for the final pillar, growing the rural workforce, we've identified goals and to tackle labor shortages, and you've already seen some things happening already. You know, by attracting and retaining and training workers, our government is well aware that we have access, and we need more, to skilled labor forces throughout this province. You know, in order to attract business, we need that strong, skilled workforce in order to prosper. And I just want to tip my hat a little bit to the Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. Already, his ministry is doing amazing work. You know, his programs and policies are generating valuable dividends, but we know we have more work to do in that regard. For instance, we want to reverse the trend of youth leaving their homes and their rural communities. Instead, we want to showcase rural Ontario as a place to access great jobs and where people can raise a family and enjoy an amazing life. This pillar aims to help grow local talent, raise awareness of job opportunities available throughout the province, and support workers in obtaining the skills needed to succeed close to home. They don't have to go off to the city. They'll have an opportunity to learn the skills, as I said, close to home. I've learned of impressive municipal initiatives that can inspire even more ideas that potentially we can partner on. For instance, at that federal provincial territorial meeting that I hosted with Minister Hutchings in Niagara-on-the-Lake, we had a representative from Chatham-Kent come and talk to all the ministers around the table. And she spoke about how they were investing in tours for people from the GTHA to come out to the Chatham-Kent area to take a look around, to see what that community was all about, and to get an understanding of the amazing jobs that are available. What a great idea. And you know, there's another municipality closer to Midwestern Ontario, the municipality of Minto. They have developed a communication plan to attract people to their communities, which is they have a flagship. It's a video that is called Where Your Family Belongs. They're hitting the point right on. We want you here. This is where you belong. I think that's fantastic. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to a municipality called South Bruce. They too are starting to communicate and build a plan to attract people to their municipality. And they've recently released a video called It All Starts Here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to suggest to you that with this strategy, Enabling Opportunities, Ontario's Rural Economic Development Strategy, it all starts with us. And during our rural consultation, I heard that we needed to review supports and programs. We needed to modernize. And in that regard, in addition to enabling opportunities, I'm pleased to share with you and announce that we're also enhancing the program formerly known as RED. Going forward, the new program, the Rural Ontario Development Program, will support the goals in our rural strategy. And we'll be modernizing our flagship rural funding program by adjusting the funding streams to better match today's and tomorrow's needs. And I would like to add that we are increasing our investment in rural Ontario. Through the Rural Ontario Development Program, we're stepping up to the table. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to hit a pause here for a moment and reflect on the fact in the past intake year, we had just over $5 million in the RED program. It supported 85 projects that in turn leveraged dollars, and overall, throughout the province, those 85 projects realized a total investment, including the seed money provided by the province, over $20 million worth of initiatives. That's great news. Well, that's right. Congratulations to all of you and the not-for-profits and the Indigenous communities that capitalized on that funding program. So that's my benchmark, and that's what we're going to be measuring about, because I want to share with you that details of the modernized program, including eligibility and funding streams, will be released soon, but you also need to trust that when those details are released, it will be clear that we listened from Ottawa to Windsor to Espanola through to Kapuskasing. It is clear that we listened to your feedback, so stay tuned on that. But I'd also like to note we're looking to increase the funding in our new modernized funding program, and that funding is going to be increased to $20 million over 2 years. That's the announcement I want to share with you today. Over and above the increase to that funding pot of money for rural Ontario, and that's a lot of money, $20 million. Just imagine what we can do and the type of projects that we can realize by partnering together, and think about what we can leverage. I look forward to it. But I also want you to know we're looking at introducing legislation to recognize the importance of rural Ontario. We want to provide certainty to all of you that it doesn't matter whether it's our government under the leadership of Premier Ford, but every government in the future will be committed to funding rural Ontario through funding programs. That's never been done before. So that's another way to bring you certainty, to let you know that we have listened. And in terms of going forward, we will also be exploring a path forward where we can partner with Invest Ontario. I would like to see everyone pursuing an initiative like they're doing in Dufferin County. And by partnering with Invest Ontario, we can showcase investment opportunities from one end of this province to the other. You know, it's incredibly important to me to support homegrown approaches. Local leaders and residents know their communities best, and they are the ones that are positioned to identify and value local assets and leverage competitive advantages. And we also know that for rural communities to thrive, it's important to have a strong economic foundational piece in place. And it's our hope that you see that our strategy is doing just that. That's why Enabling Opportunity is a strategy that also aims to improve local economic development capacity and champion local leadership. Our government will always stand with ROMA and rural Ontario. Successful economic development requires partnerships and a collective commitment to support rural business and development, to increase and nurture a workforce that's proud to be in rural Ontario, and most importantly, see strong and thriving rural communities. As a resident of rural Ontario and Minister of Rural Affairs, I am deeply committed to working hard for all of you and for every person who proudly lives and works and calls rural Ontario home. So to close, just before I give a presentation to someone special, I want to share with you that I'm genuine when I say I look forward to working with all of you on rural Ontario's continued and, most importantly, expanded success. Thank you for being here. And now I'd like to call Krista Lowry to come to the stage.